Good morning, everybody. My name is Danielle DeLong, and I'm a member of the Ho-Chunk Nation from Wisconsin. And I am going to take a few minutes and talk to you about my educational experience in college and how it got me into the career choices that I've made in my short 44 years. So first off, I want to say congratulations on considering college as an option for you and your future. And I would definitely encourage all of you to consider college and whether or not it is for you. I do know that college may not be for everybody, but it definitely, having a degree has definitely helped me in my career and making ends meet financially, having a degree. And I'll get into those details of why that was possible for me and how. So I grew up in Monroe, Michigan, which is known as General George Armstrong Custer's hometown. So I went to school there and did 13 years in a Catholic school setting, and I was always a minority in that area. And I think that's what helped me realize that there was not any representation. I never had a teacher that looked like me or that was brown until I reached college. So I definitely found that comforting, knowing that there was diversity in education, just not in the numbers that need to be seen and reflected in our classrooms today. So my high school that I went to was a college preparatory Catholic high school. So I was not an honor roll student. I did play sports up until my sophomore year, but I was an average student. But because it was a college preparatory high school, I did feel prepared for college. I did, the SAT and ACT and scored fairly well. So when my high school counselor encouraged me to apply to universities, I did apply to several public universities. Growing up in the state of Michigan, I was able to use the Michigan Indian Tuition Waiver, which allowed any enrolled American Indian and a resident of the state of Michigan to attend public universities as long as you were accepted for free as an undergrad. So I chose Eastern Michigan University, and my sister had attended the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and she definitely encouraged me to apply there. However, it was such a huge school, I didn't think that it was necessarily something that I wanted to do. And so I chose Eastern Michigan University, which specialized in elementary education or education in general. So let's back up a little bit to my high school years. As a senior in high school, I went to Wisconsin, where my family is all from, and I worked for my tribe in summer camps. So we had youth that would meet, Ho-Chunk youth that would meet every summer for summer camps, and I was a high school counselor for those camps. And I worked under my aunt and uncle, who were also teachers in Milwaukee. And while working with them, they noted to me, my aunt, or my nanny, would say to me that, hey, Danielle, you're really good with kids. Maybe you should think about education or becoming a teacher. And so that weighed on my mind. So when I got into college, I didn't technically pursue education immediately. I did have to, like most college students, take my generals. And that was a headache, to be honest. I was not passionate about any of the science or math classes. I was very poor in math. My math skills still struggle today. So that said, because I had the luxury of having a tuition waiver, I did not feel the pressure like a lot of my college friends and roommates to take only what I need, the classes that I needed in order to reach the requirements for a degree in whatever field they needed. So they would look through, at the time we had books, not internet. So they would look through the course books and choose the classes that they had to take in order to get out and graduate as soon as possible with as little debt as possible. So I would go through the course books and find that, yes, I was definitely interested in Spanish, social justice issues. And so I did take the classes that I needed to take in order to attain my education degree. But I also took Spanish as my minor, and I took a ton of social justice classes. And by the time I graduated, I was just short of having a master's degree, but I was burnt out. I was always having 2 jobs while going to school full time. And when I say full time, that was 12 credits per semester and working 2 jobs, part-time jobs. And so I did attempt 15 credits and I think even 17 credits, but then ended up dropping or withdrawing from those classes because it was too much for me to handle with work. So I definitely know that, I had to figure that out on my own. I thought I could try and get out sooner than later, but I wasn't able to. So I do know that at the end of my college career, once I figured out that I could finally graduate, I did get the language arts bachelor's with a certificate K through 5 teaching license and a minor in Spanish. And by the time I had graduated that following year, my husband at the time was pursuing law school. So we decided to move to Oklahoma, and I had also just had a baby. And in the process of moving to Oklahoma, I applied to the Tulsa Public School District where we would be moving. And I was hired sight unseen based off my resume because I had a degree from Eastern Michigan University whose requirements for teaching were higher than the states of Oklahoma. So just by holding that degree, I was needed within the public school districts in Tulsa. And it did also help that I was bilingual and had, experience speaking Spanish, which is also needed in our districts today too. But I think that said, I did not pursue the public schools because I did have an infant at the time, and so I took employment with the Muskogee Creek Nation and their early childhood education program as their center director. So I was directing infant through school age youth center, and my child was able to attend daycare with me. And that was the main reason for me not to go into teaching immediately in Oklahoma. And it also played into years later. So after Oklahoma, we did move to Wisconsin, and I continued to work in early childhood settings as preschool teacher and then doing my own home daycare because I continued to have children and wanted to be home or wanted to be working with them daily. And then once we moved from Wisconsin, we moved to Minnesota. And by this time, it was 2010, and my teaching degree had expired. And so I did apply and receive my Minnesota American Indian Language and Culture licensure for K through 12, and that was while working with the St. Paul Public Schools Indian Education Program. So I think that experience helped me understand, again, where my priorities lay. I knew that I wanted to be a teacher and serve American Indian students, and here I was serving American Indian students with the Muskogee Creek Nation, as well as within Wisconsin with my own children. And then moving here to Minnesota, I began to establish family in this community and be involved, not just with a career. Like, I didn't just clock in at 8 and clock out at 4 and go home. The community, I definitely embraced this local community, and I felt like my work was reflective 24/7. So that is something that I definitely feel strongly about. Is my father was in the Navy, and my mother was basically a factory worker in Detroit. So working on cars, physical labor, long days, and then most of the time she would get laid off at 89 days before her union would allow her to secure any job security. But it was one of the highest paying jobs that you could get in the area without a degree. And then my stepfather was an electrician, a tradesperson. And so all three of them throughout my life encouraged me and my sisters to attain our degree. And they would say, life is short, do what makes you happy. And so for a long time, I thought, well, what makes me happy is, hanging out with my friends and having fun. But now, I can understand that it doesn't really matter to me what my income is. What's most important to me is the work that I do makes me happy, because nobody wants to go to work every day and hate their job. So I've had the privilege, because of my education and my degree, to love what I do every day and get paid for it. So, and not very many people can say that, because I honestly loved teaching and working with kids and within the American Indian community, and that is definitely my passion. And I would definitely encourage all of you to pursue your education, get through your general requirements, because they may not be your strengths or your interests, but once you do that, it's 1 to 2 years or 1, 2, or 4 semesters of your life. Then from that point on, once you get that, you can pursue your interests and become a leader and develop your skills and your talents to do what makes you happy in life. And I definitely know that no matter what field you're in and no matter what field you're interested in, there needs to be American Indian representation in every single workforce, in every single career, in every single area in this society. We are underrepresented, and I would love to see American Indians in high places and doing what makes them happy. And I think that might be all that I have to share. Again, that was a brief and very general synopsis of how my college degree helped me get to where I am. So I've been a teacher, an early childhood worker, a community worker, a youth center director, and now I'm currently working for one of the most prominent American Indian tribes in the nation as a community cultural outreach specialist. So I am helping this community reach their culture or connect with their culture, their language, and I love it. So I'm doing what I love, and it's seriously only because I have a degree.